Here stands the identity you've carried for years, the thoughts that replay like a broken record, the emotions that loop before you even realize you've woken up, the patterns that show up again and again no matter how many times you swore this time would be different. It's heavy, it's hidden, and it's shaping your entire reality right now. You feel it in the hesitation before speaking your truth. You feel it in the doubt when an opportunity appears. You feel it in the quiet voice that whispers, keep expectations low, don't risk disappointment. That is not the voice of your higher self. That is the voice of the old self, the version built through scars, through rejection, through setbacks. And as long as you keep carrying it, your reality cannot change. This is why your dreams feel delayed. This is why manifestation sometimes seems to fail. It isn't because you don't deserve better. It isn't because the universe is withholding from you. It's because your energy signature, the frequency you broadcast, is still tied to yesterday. You're asking for a new future while standing inside the walls of the old self. And here's the truth few people ever realize. The universe doesn't deliver based on what you write down in a journal. It doesn't respond to wishful words alone. It mirrors back the version of you that is showing up now. You don't receive what you want. You receive who you are. So think about this. If every morning you rise with the same emotions, the same tension, the same story about who you are, what reality are you tuning into? The same one. The same patterns, the same obstacles, because you're consistent. And the quantum field respects consistency above all else. But let's make something clear. That old identity is not evil. It was built to keep you safe. It was formed when life was too much, when you felt unseen, when you were hurt, dismissed, or told to be smaller. That mask kept you alive. It gave you structure, but now it's outdated. It's a survival suit, not your truth. And if you keep wearing it, you'll keep attracting situations that match survival, not expansion. This is why growth feels impossible at times, because you're not fighting the world. You're wrestling with a version of yourself that believes safety lies in staying small. The body remembers it. The mind rehearses it. And every time you try to step forward, that old programming pulls you back. Not out of malice, out of habit. But here's the shift. You don't have to fight the old self. You don't have to destroy it. You only have to stop identifying with it. To see it for what it is, a pattern, not a permanent truth. Once you become the witness, once you observe it instead of becoming it, everything changes. Because the act of witnessing collapses the old timeline and opens the door to the new one. This is where transformation begins, not by forcing new methods, not by chasing endless affirmations, but by choosing a new identity, by remembering who you are beneath the mask. And when you do, reality has no choice but to reorganize. The question is simple. Are you ready to let go of the old self? You open your eyes, same room, same ceiling, same story playing in your head before you even sit up. You tell yourself maybe today will be different. Maybe this will be the day things shift. But the moment your feet touch the ground, the old self takes over again. Why? Because your body remembers, not just in thoughts but in chemistry. Those emotions you feel on repeat, they're not random, they're programs. Triggers that have been rehearsed so many times, your system is addicted to them. Stress, doubt, fear, they run like background music. And as long as they play, your reality can't change. Science shows this clearly. By the time most people reach adulthood, almost all of their responses are memorized. 95% of what you do, think, and feel each day is a rerun, which means you're not really living in the present. You're recreating the past, over and over, until the present feels like déjà vu. And then you wonder why manifestation feels blocked, why affirmations don't land, why opportunities seem to pass by. It's because the universe isn't fooled by words. It listens to energy. It listens to the emotions running in your nervous system. And if those emotions are tied to the old self, then that's the signal you're broadcasting. That's the frequency you're tuned to. Think about it like a magnet. Your old identity doesn't just sit quietly in your memory. It pulls, it attracts, it shapes the field around you. You can say you want love, but if your energy is still tied to abandonment, you'll push love away. You can say you want wealth, but if your foundation is scarcity, you'll resist every chance that comes. Not because you're unworthy, but because your nervous system hasn't updated. This is why so many people try every technique, every method, every ritual and still feel stuck. Because change isn't intellectual, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's physical. Transformation isn't just what you think, it's what you embody. So let's pause. Take a moment right now. Ask yourself what emotions show up most often in your day. Doubt, guilt, frustration. Are those emotions really you? Or are they habits? Are they patterns your body has learned to depend on? Because if that's the case, then every one of those emotions is shaping your reality. This is the real secret most people miss. Your outer world is not reflecting your desires. It's reflecting your frequency. And if your frequency is built on the old self, then the old life will keep showing up. But here's the hope. The moment you see this, you're no longer blind. You've already taken a step out of the pattern. You've already shifted your position. Awareness alone begins to break the cycle. Because when you watch the old self without becoming it, you weaken its power. You cut the cord. You create space for something new. This is the observer effect in action. You stop being the program. You become the one watching the program. And in that moment, the script can change. So let me ask again. Who are you practicing each day? The old self or the new one? Because whichever you practice most, that's who creates your reality. Here's the truth. You don't need to build the new you. You need to remember them. That version already exists. Right now, in this field, in this moment. They're not waiting in some distant future. They're present in a different frequency, a different state of being. And this is where most people miss it. They try to manifest from the perspective of the old self. They write down goals. They speak affirmations. They visualize. But deep down, they still carry the identity of someone who doubts. Someone who waits. Someone who doesn't fully trust they deserve it. And so the universe responds not to the dream, but to the doubt. Because energy doesn't lie. You can't trick the field. You can't cover fear with pretty words. You can't speak abundance while vibrating scarcity. The signal always reveals the truth. So how do you change the signal? By changing who you're being, not tomorrow, not when the results show up, but now, in this moment. Because you don't attract what you hope for, you attract what you embody. Think about your future self. How do they carry themselves? How do they breathe? How do they speak? How do they respond when life throws challenges? They're not hesitant. They're not frantic. They're steady. They're aligned. They move with trust. Now compare that to your old self. Shoulders tense. Voice unsure. Waiting for proof before believing. Do you see the difference? It's not just in thoughts. It's in energy. It's in presence. It's in the way they show up. And here's the key. The more you embody that future self now, the faster reality responds. Because the quantum field mirrors your state. Not your hopes, not your someday, but your now. This is why identity work is everything. Because if you try to create wealth with a nervous system still wired for scarcity, every bill will trigger stress. Every risk will feel dangerous. Every opportunity will slip through your fingers. Not because you're unlucky, but because your body is still tuned to the old frequency. But when you shift identity, when you breathe as your future self, speak as your future self, act as your future self, the field has no choice. It must reflect that, because resonance is law. So let me ask you, who are you being right now? The one still waiting, or the one already aligned? Because this is the moment of choice. And the moment you choose, the field shifts, not slowly, not in some distant day, instantly. The change begins now. You don't have to drag the old self any longer. You don't have to carry the weight of every disappointment, every rejection, every fear. That version of you served a purpose, but its role is complete. It was never your truth. It was a survival pattern, and now it's time to release it. So imagine it right now. See yourself carrying a heavy bag filled with every old story you've told, every doubt, every reason you gave for why it wasn't possible, every memory that whispered you weren't enough, every time you settled for less than what you wanted. That bag is full, and it's heavy. Now set it down. Feel the release in your shoulders. Feel the air in your lungs expand. Feel the ground beneath you welcoming your next step. Because the moment you put it down, you realize something powerful. You were never broken. You were never limited. You were simply carrying an identity that wasn't truly yours. The new self has always been here, waiting for you to remember. Not a self built on fear, but a self anchored in trust. Not a self living from scarcity, but a self living from overflow. Not a self defined by wounds, but a self glowing with possibility. And the moment you align with this self, life bends to match you. Because reality doesn't wait months or years to shift. It begins the instant you shift. At first, it shows up as subtle changes. A conversation that goes differently than it usually would. A moment of peace in a situation that once triggered panic. A burst of inspiration that seems to appear from nowhere. These small shifts are evidence, signals that the field is responding to the new frequency you're holding. And the more you hold it, the more momentum builds. Opportunities begin to appear that were invisible before. People show up who seem aligned with your vision. Synchronicities multiply. A thought leads to an action, that action leads to a meeting, and suddenly a door you thought was locked swings wide open. This isn't coincidence, it's coherence. The universe isn't rewarding you, it's reflecting you. And when your identity rises to match your desires, reality reorganizes around that rise. Not because you forced it, not because you pushed harder, but because resonance is law. This is why your declaration matters. Not because words alone have power, but because identity spoken with certainty becomes a signal, a vibration, a message that cannot be ignored. So say it now. Say it with presence. I no longer live as the old self. I embody the version of me who is free, aligned, and ready now. Say it again. This time not as repetition, but as embodiment. Feel it in your breath. Feel it in your chest. Let it vibrate through your cells. I no longer live as the old self. I embody the version of me who is free, aligned, and ready now. This is not a mantra. This is not positive thinking. This is a choice. And the moment you choose, the field listens. The old patterns dissolve, not instantly all at once, but piece by piece. And every time the old self rises again, because it will, you will recognize it. You will say, that's not me anymore. That's just residue. And with each reminder, the old loses power. This is how transformation stabilizes. Not by perfection, not by never slipping, but by choosing again and again until the new pathway is stronger than the old one. Until the frequency of alignment is the only one you recognize. Until living as the new self feels as natural as breathing. And here's the beauty. You don't have to wait until the whole world changes to feel it. You don't have to wait until the money comes, until the relationship arrives, until the breakthrough happens. You can feel it now. Because the moment you shift identity, the shift is real. The change is alive. The evidence is already forming. So let's make this clear. The old self is not your enemy. It was your teacher. It showed you what survival feels like, but survival is not your destiny. Expansion is, growth is, freedom is, and the new self is not someone you have to chase. It is someone you allow, someone you become by remembering what was always true. The new you already breathes deeper, walks lighter, speaks with conviction, trusts life instead of fearing it, moves with certainty instead of hesitation. This self doesn't beg the universe. This self doesn't doubt their worth. This self radiates alignment. And alignment is magnetic. So ask yourself this. If I were already that self, how would I act today? How would I respond to challenges? How would I carry myself in the room? How would I speak to others? Because the moment you act from that place, the shift stabilizes, the old dissolves, and reality begins to follow. This is the observer effect in motion. You are no longer passively watching life unfold. You are actively choosing which version of reality collapses into form. And you choose not through force, but through identity. So as we close this moment, breathe deeply. Place your awareness on your heart. Speak to the universe. Speak to yourself. Speak to the quantum field. Declare it one final time. I no longer live as the old self. I embody the version of me who is free, aligned, and ready now. Because the old self has finished its mission, the new self is already here, and reality, it's listening.